أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وأتموا الحج والعمرة لله فإن أحصرتم فما استيسر من الهدي ولا تحلقوا رؤوسكم حتى يبلغ الهدي محله فمن كان منكم مريضا أو به أذى من رأسه ففدية من صيام أو صدقة أو نسك فإذا أمنتم فمن تمتع بالعمرة إلى الحج فما استيسر من الهدي فمن لم يجد فصيام 3 أيام في الحج و7 إذا رجعتم تلك 10 كاملة ذلك لمن لم يكن أهله حاضر المسجد الحرام واتقوا الله واعلموا أن الله شديد العقاب الحج أشهر معلومات فمن فرض فيهن الحج فلا رفث ولا فسوق ولا جدال في الحج وما تفعلوا من خير يعلمه الله وتزودوا فإن خير الزاد التقوى واتقون يا أولي الألباب ليس عليكم جناح أن تبتغوا فضلا من ربكم فإذا أفضتم من عرفات فاذكروا الله عند المشعر الحرام واذكروه كما هداكم وإن كنتم من قبله لمن الضالين ثم أفيضوا من حيث أفاض الناس واستغفروا الله إن الله غفور رحيم فإذا قضيتم مناسككم فاذكروا الله كذكركم آباءكم أو أشد ذكرا فمن الناس من يقول ربنا آتنا في الدنيا وما له في الآخرة من خلاق ومنهم من يقول ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار صدق الله العظيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد. Respected guests, Jazakumullah khairan for coming today. Inshallah, today and tomorrow we'll be going through the Hajj, Umrah and Ziyarah workshops. So today's session, if you might have seen on the poster, we'll be focusing on the rules of Ihram, the 3 types of Umrah, the 3 types of Hajj, the rules of Ihram, the rules of Umrah, what to do when you get to Mecca. And then time permitting also we'll cover visiting Medina Munawwara, so that tomorrow's session we can just reserve for just the actual 5 days of Hajj, inshallah. So everything other than the actual 5 days of Hajj, we'll try and cover that today, so that the actual 5 days from the 8th of Dhul Hijjah until the end of those 5 days, we can cover tomorrow, inshallah. And throughout the session, if you just come in or you haven't already, we prepared some notes, booklets at the back on the tables. So if you want to, you can also make some notes in here. Some of these slides are also in these booklets if you want to have a look at them. So it's for free. You can take a booklet on the table at the back if you want to make use of that as well, inshallah. Also, throughout the session, any questions that you have, you will see that we will have put these QR code stickers around the place, and it's also at the front of your booklet. So for the sisters, the booklets on the table there, and for the brothers, booklets at the back. So the QR code is also on the booklet, but also the QR code we've stuck up. You can use any of those. And inshallah, any questions you have, if you post them on there so that we can go through them at the end, inshallah. So that will save us, inshallah. That will ensure that we can cover the entirety of the content now, and then any questions at the end. We'll do the same thing tomorrow as well, inshallah. So we'll get started, inshallah, once you've got your booklets. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So today's session will introduce Hajj, and then introduce Ihram, the rules of Ihram, rules of Umrah, what to do in Mecca, and we'll finish off with Medina Munawwara, inshallah. So we'll get started. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So when it comes to visiting the Haramain, visiting the sites of Mecca and Medina, we have to remember that on this trip we're going, then we're not going for a holiday or some excursion or just any old trip. It's an act of ibadah, it's a worship. And so for the act of worship, we have to ensure that we've got the right intention. Why am I doing this? It's like we know what salah we're going to pray. We're going to pray Dhuhr salah, Asr salah, etc. So for salah we have intention. In Ramadan we're fasting, we have an intention. So similarly for going, whether you're going for Hajj now or even later on you might go for Umrah again, anytime you go and visit the Haramain, it's an act of ibadah. So we need to make sure that we've got the right intention. So the intention, what is the intention of why you're going? The fact that Allah is taking us there, it's a sign that Allah has already decided that He is going to forgive us. Allah wants to forgive us, which is why He's inviting us to His house. So that's our first intention, to get forgiven by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number two, when you go there, subhanallah, up till now you've been preparing for that time, all this in preparation. And then when you're there, subhanallah, when you're in front of the Ka'batul Musharrafah, and the majesty of the Kaaba, the glory of the Kaaba, you're there, subhanallah. Amongst all of those people, you can't tell on your right and left who is rich, who is poor, what background they are from. We are all equal and humble in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In that moment, and then we'll be in the plain of Arafat, subhanallah. These are moments for us to connect to Allah. So our second intention is to reconnect to Allah. In our daily life, we're busy working, we've got everything, our friends, our family, our day-to-day routines. It distracts us from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We can't focus and work on our connection with Allah. So this is our second intention, reconnecting with our Creator, our Maker, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number three, people go through different phases in life where they get spirituality boost. So you go through Ramadan, you feel more spiritually charged. You go spend some time in i'tikaf, you go in jama'ah, you go to a bayan, a scholar, a lecture. You go, so sometimes for some people, suddenly a family member passes away, and that time they then turn to doing more ibadah, and that then gives them a little bit of spirituality boost. So we go through phases in life that gives us a spirituality boost. But one of the greatest resets for us as humans and as slaves of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is actually the journey of Hajj. So that's the third intention. And number four is a journey that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam undertook, and everything in our deen is following the footsteps of our beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So those four are the four intentions we should have. For any brothers or sisters that might have just come in, we've got some booklets prepared for you at the back on the table. If you want to get yourself a copy, inshallah. So any notes or anything you want to make, you've got that with you. So these are the four intentions we have. And if we have these four intentions, this is why I'm doing it. I am not doing it to show anybody, or when I come back, everybody's going to call me Haji Sahab. I've got a title, I'm a Haji now, or I'm doing it for any other reason, or it's just a tick box I am doing. No. It's an ibadah, it's a worship, it's a duty Allah has over me. Right of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one of the 5 pillars of Islam. And this is what I am trying to get. I am trying to get forgiven by Allah. I am trying to connect to Allah. I want to work on my spirituality and my connection with Allah. And also, it's a journey that I want to follow in the footsteps of our beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So just like, subhanallah, you probably be thinking about, have I got everything ready? What's going to be in my bag? I need to pack my suitcase. Then what am I going to get? My Hajj provider said they're going to get, maybe I'll get an umbrella or a rucksack or this and that. So these are all things we're thinking about. This is preparation for until we get there. But also with that, we also need to psychologically and mentally prepare for this. So as part of that, one was the intentions. Number two is ensuring that we know this is not a holiday. If I go to a holiday, I might have a 5-star holiday and I'm staying in a resort, and maybe if I don't get what I paid for, I might kick up a fuss. This is my customer service, my right. Remember, when you're going for Hajj and Umrah, to test us and our sincerity, Allah will put these things in our way where we will feel that we're not getting what we really should have got. We're told by our leader, our group leader, coach is going at 5 o'clock, make sure 4:30 you're in the lobby. We get to the lobby at 4:30, but the coach doesn't come till 6 o'clock. You're going to say, why did you tell me 4:30? I could have had a nap. I could have spent some more time in my room or in my tent. So if you're going anywhere else, these are feelings that we will have. But remember, when you go for Hajj, when you go for Umrah, these are part of the acts of worship, and to test our sincerity, Allah will put these hurdles in our way. Then like we said, there's going to be people from all different walks of life. People from different countries, different cultures, they might not understand things that we might think is common sense. So now, in that scenario, or normally, if someone does something that I don't like, I might maybe get angry, I might raise my voice, I might show my frustration, my anger. But remember, especially when in the state of ihram, or we are the guests of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and everybody around us, they are not the guests of the company, they're not the guests of Nusuk, they're not the guests of the royal family or the Saudi government. Whose guests are we? We're the guests of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's why even when we get to Saudi Arabia, when you land, you'll see most of the signs, it will say, Marhaban bi duyufir Rahman. Welcome to the guests of Ar-Rahman. Because we are the guests of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So yes, the people on my right and my left, they're not going to end up being our best friends in every single way. There will be things that, there will be differences. Like the 5 fingers on our hand, not every finger is the same height. There will be differences. We have to learn to live together, work together, and stay together. Just like I want to feel special because I'm Allah's guest there, so is the person on my right and my left. So yes, sometimes you might get, for many of us, it's going to be the first time in our life we are going to be super close to someone in our personal space who is actually not our spouse or family member. We've never been that close to someone. Where you're going to be in the mina, that you're going to be sleeping super close to someone, or in tawaf you're going to have people on your left and your right. You're going to feel someone poking here. You're going to maybe feel someone very close to your neck at the back as you're crossing that tawaf. Maybe now in that scenario, you will be out of your comfort zone. So you need to psychologically prepare that when I am in that moment, how will I react? Will I start getting angry and saying things and trying to bodge everybody out the way and stuff? Then really the point of Allah calling us there to forgive us. But in that process, we're offending and insulting and hurting the servants of Allah, the guests of Allah also. Then really, are we going to actually get what Allah wants to give us? We're going to undo that. So we're going to psychologically need to prepare for that. Have I humbled myself? Will I be able to control my anger? Will I be able to really be patient? And it's going to be a hot country, it's a hot climate. And in the heat, normally people's emotions go higher. As we know, when we had Ramadan in the summer, people used to get angry quite a lot. You just go on Evington Valley Road after Dhuhr Salah on a Sunday during Ramadan, and it's a hot day. You see how it's happening. Yeah, I don't need to tell you. You're already smiling. I know you know what I am talking about. Yeah. So even in Hajj, people's emotions will rise. The weather will be hot. All of these things will happen. So we need to also think. So just remember one hadith. 3 words of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If we make this our formula for what we're going to do on our conduct, this will save us for the entirety of our Hajj. 3 words. Man, samata, najah. Which means whoever remains silent has been saved. You really want to say something, you just swallow your anger. Just bite your tongue. Just no. I'm in Hajj. Or I'm in Ihram. I know, I'm in Allah's house. I can't do this. Yeah? And you saved yourself. The moment you open your mouth to say something, that's it, you're going to lose out on everything. You might offend that person might get more angry, and then they might fight back with you. And now they say exactly what Shaitan wants. This is what Shaitan wants. So we need to be prepared for that. So that is really important. Controlling our temper, our patience, sabr. Some of these Hajj seminars, if you went to from your providers, they might have said, for example, as part of, I remember when I went to the group that we're going with, when he went to us, the person there who's delivering the seminar, he was going through the packing checklist, and then he said, this is only 30% of your luggage, the remaining 70% of your 23 kg, pack it with sabr. So because that is what you're going to need. Every stage of this way, you're going to need sabr. Now, on this journey, there's going to be numerous instances that anything you ask from Allah, Allah is going to give you. Alongside that, we're going to be in Arafat, standing in the plain of Arafat, we're going to be standing in dua. So what do you want from Allah? So if you notice in the book, that the first page I've made for you is a dua list. So if you can do it on here, then you can take it with you, or you can do it anywhere on your notes on your phone or anywhere else. Start making a dua list. What do I want from Allah? What do I want for myself? What do I want for my akhirah, for my hereafter? What do I want for my friends and family? What do I want in terms of me becoming a better Muslim? What du'as am I going to make for the ummah? If I have more, I want to study more, I want to get new, advance and in the career that I am trying to get, or in my profession, I want to grow and continue working harder and getting those promotions, or anything else, any future plans, all of those things, whatever you ask from Allah, Allah is going to give you. So this is a very small, simple one that I have prepared. You can add to that, you can make your own version, but have something like that. Have a dua list, because Allah is going to answer anything we ask for throughout this journey. From the moment we are ready to leave our house, throughout this journey, there's going to be instances and moments, places, periods of time where anything. So you might not even have to ask Allah. You just be thinking about that, and you will see how Allah will make that happen. Both in Mecca, in Medina, in Mina, in Muzdalifah, in Arafat, all of these places. So make a dua list. Then when you've done your first Umrah, when you get there, when you go through the rules, you think about this. There'll be a lot of time you'll have where you're not sure what to do. Because if you try to go towards Haram, you might get stuck, etc. So best thing is make a timetable around Quran. How much Quran am I going to read? So maybe you might say, okay, whilst I'm in Makkah, including the days of Hajj, I'm going to try and complete the entire Quran. Or maybe one Quran in Makkah, one Quran in Medina, if you really you want to push yourself to that. But the main thing is revolve your thing, your day and your timetable around doing some ibadah. And from now, it's not when we get there, I'm going to start praying. From now, yeah, we've not got long left. Some of us will be leaving this week, some of them will be leaving next week. But within the next 2 weeks, all of us are going to be going, whichever day our package is. So from now, start increasing your Quran, your dhikr, your tilawah, and anything you can, so that when you get there, what happens in Ramadan? First few days, we're still getting used to it, we want to. And then by the time we feel the spirit of Ramadan, and the last 10 days come, and yes, you got a good routine going, and you think you're doing well in your worship, and what happens? Then the night of Eid is over. So if you start planning from before, starting from before, then you can make the most of your time there also. Similarly, you're gonna, when you go to visit Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when you talk about Medina, so for that also start increasing in your Durood Sharif, in your salawat on Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And lastly, don't overpack. You've probably seen so many videos, and so many people saying you need to take this, you need to take that. What if this happens? What if you need this? What if you need that? Before you know it, you've got an entire suitcase full of things. And when you actually go there and your whole Hajj is over, you'll come back and think, I don't know why I took all of this. I only used 30% of my suitcase. So really, you don't need to take anything extra. So all you need, I'm sure even your Hajj providers have given you a packing checklist. I've also put it in the booklet I prepared for you. So on the second page, we've got this. So if you want to use this to help you when you're checking what you need to take. But anything more than this, I think will be really. And nowadays, a lot of the Hajj companies under Nusuk, they are providing you with rucksacks, with umbrellas, with spray fans, with water bottles, with prayer mats, or a lot of these things. Even the pouches for when your pebbles, when you're gonna collect the pebbles for Hajj. So all of these things, before you have to take all this yourself. Now, most of this is provided. So check with your group provider, what are you going to get? And lastly, what I didn't mention over here, the second point over here is about making this a moment where we are unplugged. By that we mean that this, we can't survive without this. Our day and night is all we do. We just scrolling, writing, whatever. So everything's on this. And anything nice we like, what do we do? First thing we do, we open the camera and we want to take a picture of this. Oh, I need to remember this. Maybe I might need this later on. Let me just take a picture of this or take a video of this. Now what happens is there might be something really important or something really amazing happening in front of you. Your focus is in making sure that did I manage to get the video of the picture. You've missed it. So you've seen the Kaaba, subhanAllah, your first view of the Kaaba, and let me take. That's the time for you to make dua. That dua list that you've got on your first page, and you've chosen what dua to make. You've lost that moment because you're trying to think about, have I got the right angle for the right photo of the Kaaba? Or you might see some people coming down the escalators and they're recording the video, want to make a TikTok video or an Instagram reel. Forget all of this. Yeah, this is a moment. What was our intention? To connect to Allah. So this is a distraction. So yes, apart from maybe you're going Medina, you need to do the Nusuk app. Or maybe you need to check your check-in for your airline or anything like that, or something you really need it for. Or in emergency scenario, you need to just text your family that just meet me by gate number this is where I am. That's it. Other than that, if we can leave this in our accommodation with our safe and lock it away for the days of Hajj, that would be amazing. But some of us might need it for emergency. But really try and make this an unplugged pilgrimage. Because if there is one thing that is going to make us maybe waste our time or lose out on blessings or maybe start doing things we're not supposed to, most of us, it will start off from this. So really, for everything else in life, our whole life is on there. Let's think, I'm going to cut out myself away from my worldly life right now. This is my time with Allah. I want to work in my ruh, my soul, and connecting to Allah. I want to live in that moment. So you might think, I'm going to take a picture and video. I'm going to show my children when I come back home how Hajj was. If you really want to take one or two, just to show the outskirts, but don't spend all of your time taking photos of you. I'm not going to go into the fatwa or the masala whether it's halal or haram or what. Let your heart be the judge. In that moment, is it really respectful to the sanctity and sacredness of where I am? Does it show that I've got adab for this place if I am doing this or I am taking a selfie over here or whatever else? Not really. I don't need to answer that for you. Then you don't need to say whether it's halal or haram or anything else. And lastly, we talked about controlling ourselves. And there's the hadith I mentioned earlier, whoever remains silent remains saved. And when you get there, especially for Hajj, apart from the Umrah you're going to do when you get to Mecca, other than that, don't overdo it. Don't think, oh, I've got a few days in Mecca, let me do as many tawafs as I can. What's going to happen when the days of Hajj comes? You're going to be flat out in your tent in Mina. You're not going to have any energy to do anything. So the whole maqsad of what we're going for. And when you're there, make dua, Allah takes you for Umrah again and again. When you go for Umrah, you can spend more time, do other things, maybe do spend more time in the Haram, do some more tawafs, do some other things. But right now, our focus is Hajj. We don't want to be that we've overdone it at the start, and because of that, when the days of Hajj come, we are completely flat out. It happens to many people. They get excited, and rightfully so. But then they go and do extra, they do so much extra worship that when the days of Hajj come, they can't do anything. So really, we want to last till the end. Small steps. Start off with the basics. Prayed my 5 salah with Jama'ah. Praying some Quran. Reading some dua. And then slowly, anything else, you slowly build on that as you get to the days of Hajj and within Hajj also. And that way, inshallah, we'll be able to make sure we go all the way till the end. And with that, I'll mention that now in case I forget later on. 3 things stay away from. One is AC, one is ice drinks and ice cream, and one is fizzy drinks. If you can stay away from these 3 things, unless you really are your body's got some really good resilience and you can survive till the end, because most people that get ill when they go for Hajj or Umrah is mainly because of these 3 things. Because they want to sleep with the AC on, they want to have the AC right on because they're feeling too hot. Or maybe they're feeling too hot, so they're having water or drinks and ice everywhere, or having too much ice cream, and then they have lost their voice, they got a fever, they're feeling ill. It will take a toll. The first few days you'll be okay, but when you get to the actual days of Hajj, that's not when you want to be ill. So please look after your health as part of that as well, inshallah. Now when we go for Hajj and Umrah, whether you go for Umrah, you go for Hajj or both, the fact that we are going there, Rasulullah has mentioned this beautiful hadith, perform Hajj and Umrah one after the other, for surely they remove poverty and sins, just as a furnace removes the dirt of iron, gold and silver. So how much money you spent on your package and how long it took you to save that money. So yes, you might feel, subhanAllah, it took me a long time, it's a lot of money. And you'll feel that, it's now, you feel like it's gone because I've spent it. When I press the button and you're waiting for that circle to cut till you go, and alhamdulillah, you finally got your package. Now it's gone. It's gone from your e-wallet. But it's not gone. Because every penny you spent, Allah will give that back to you, or will give you that back with more barakah than you originally had. And this is not my promise, not I am saying. This is the promise of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That through these journeys of Hajj and Umrah, you will see people, they're not quite well off. They maybe don't even own a house, they might be staying in rented properties, or they might have a very basic salary, minimum wage. But subhanAllah, they go for Umrah every year. They're going so much for Umrah. Because why? When you go for Umrah, when you keep going for Umrah, Allah puts barakah. You might have a small amount. With that small amount, Allah will give you the ability to do so much more. So when you go for Hajj, yes, you spent a lot of money. Allah will give you that back with barakah, inshallah. And also, all the sins that we are going to go there with, when we come back, they'll be completely gone. Right? If anything is rusted, and when they have those people that do mining in gold, silver, iron, and they put it in a furnace, and that gets rid of all the rust until they have the actual, the gold comes out. So the same as us, Allah has created every single one of us. Prophet ﷺ said, "An-nasu ma'adin ka ma'adin al-dhahabi wal-fidda." People are like mines of gold and silver. Each one of us, there's something special about us. But because of our sins and our day-to-day life, it's all covered and mixed up, and we don't know ourselves what's good about ourselves. So when you go for Hajj and Umrah, that's when Allah will give us the ability to cleanse ourselves from those sins, and then those qualities can shine within us, inshallah. So this is some of the virtues we'll go through some 2 or 3 virtues of Umrah and Hajj, and then we'll go onto Ihram and Umrah, inshallah. So when it comes to Umrah, first of all, one Umrah to another Umrah, this will remove all the sins committed from between that and the previous Umrah. If you get to perform Umrah in Ramadan, Prophet ﷺ said performing Umrah in Ramadan is like performing Hajj, same reward as Hajj. And in one narration, it's like performing Hajj with me. So imagine the quality of the blessings and rewards that the Sahaba got performing Hajj with the Prophet ﷺ. We can get that in Ramadan also. So all of these things that you're going to hear about, when you go there, as part of the du'as you make dua, oh Allah, bring me for Umrah again and again. Hajj, maybe for some of us, only once in our life we'll get to go. Maybe Allah will take us again for Hajj if we get the chance. But Umrah, we can go quite regularly. We don't need to go through the whole nusuk process, alhamdulillah. So it's quite straightforward. So we can go again and again, and inshallah. So make dua for that also. And when you go, whether you go for Hajj or you go for Umrah, we are, like we said, the guests of Allah. We are the deputations of Allah. And anything you ask from Allah, you call upon Allah, Allah will answer. You ask Allah to forgive you, Allah is going to forgive you. So that's what we're going there for, really. And whoever performs Hajj and does not commit any obscenity or wrongdoing, then the day you return back to Leicester or wherever if you're not from Leicester, you've traveled here today, the day you return back home will be كَيَوْمٍ وَلَدَتْهُ أُمُّهُ, like the day the mother gave birth to him. The day when we were born, who was born with sins? Nobody. We were completely pure, sinless. That's exactly how Rasulullah described that person. When they return from Hajj, is like the day they were born. New life, fresh start. Everything deleted. Everything apart from human and jinn that was a witness to any sins that we did, everything's gone. Even the ground we committed those sins on forgot that we did that. The angels that wrote down those sins we did, even the angels will be made to forget they wrote that down. That's the intent of Allah's mercy and forgiveness. And we always pray, people say, may Allah give you Hajj Mabrur. What does that mean? A complete and accepted. Complete, so you didn't miss anything out. So you didn't make any mistakes or anything. And also an accepted Hajj, that everything you did in Hajj is accepted. And the reward for that, there's no reward for that. The only reward for that is Jannah. Direct Jannah. That is the reward for that. May Allah grant us all Hajj Mabrur. And then for those that will be staying here and will be when we come back, we are told by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if anybody returns from Hajj, then you should shake hands with them, do salam musafaha with them, and ask them to make dua. Why should you tell them to make dua for you? Because they've come back and they are in a state that they are free of sin. So anything they ask Allah, Allah is going to answer because they've got no sin, nothing hindering the quality of their dua because they're pure. And we pray that Allah does forgive us and we return as such so that we are pure. Anything we ask from Allah, Allah will give us inshallah. Next, now we'll go through what is the definition of the two. So what's the difference between Umrah and Hajj? Umrah, some people call it the minor Hajj or the lesser pilgrimage. It is still a act of pilgrimage. It's a sunnah. So if a person does not perform Umrah in their life, it's not a pillar of Islam like Hajj is. They didn't have a chance, the ability or financial ability to do so. They won't be questioned by Allah in that regard. But it's a sunnah that Rasulullah performed 4 times in his life. And Umrah can be performed any time of the year. Hajj can only be performed in certain days. Umrah can be performed any time of the year apart from the 5 days of Hajj. Unless, of course, right now there's an extension to that in terms of the rules. So from the 1st of Dhul Qa'dah, they close off Makkah to only citizens of Makkah or Hajj permit holders. So if you don't have that, you can't go for Umrah. But that's an additional thing, that's a rule. That's not a rule of fiqh in terms of the Islamic ruling. Apart from the 5 days of Hajj, any time is when you can perform Umrah. So for example, someone is going to be getting into Makkah on the last day, on maybe Sunday night. They're not going to get time to do Umrah, so they won't do Tamattu Hajj when we talk about the types of Hajj. So then they won't perform on Umrah. Other than that, during the 5 days of Hajj you can't. Other than that you can. When it comes to Hajj, Hajj is a pilgrimage to specific sites in and around Mecca where you complete specific exclusive rites. So what we're going to do there in and around Mecca is only going to be there. If I start walking down Evington Road and I think, as I'm walking up, I think over here Shaitan was trying to inspire me to do some bad deeds. So what I'll do, let me get some stones from the floor and start throwing it. This guy, what's happening to him? You're not going to forget getting reward or good deeds. Anyone who's going to be with you say, this guy, maybe something's wrong with him, he's seeing things, he's hallucinating. Yeah. So it's specific to Mina, to that place there. Also, you don't, in the masjid, it's the house of Allah, subhanallah. Most masjids now, they've got maybe a dome or a chandelier. Let me start doing tawaf over here because I want to feel closer to Allah. Will that work? No. So specific things in specific sites. In and around Makkah. It's a farad, it's an obligation, one of the pillars of Islam. We have to do it once in our life. That's your farad. So if it's your first Hajj, it's your farad Hajj, we need to make sure we want to try and do this to the best of our ability, inshallah. And because for some of us, for most of us, we may only get to do it this once. So we want to make sure we do that properly. And it's only farad on those that are both, number one, physically able to do so, and number two, financially able to do so. So they might have everything ready, they're strong enough, they think they got time of work and everything. If you haven't got the resources or the funding or the money, you don't have to go right now. It's not farad on you yet. Yeah. The same would be, to understand this, if someone, mashallah, a child comes with us to pray salah in the masjid. Now if they didn't wudu, or they were looking here and there in their salah, or they were playing with a friend in salah, yes, we will encourage them, tell them off because that's part of their tarbiyah. But it's fine because they don't have to pray salah yet. So if they didn't have wudu. So similarly over here, for us, if you're not financially able to do so, You don't have to do it yet. If you do get there, even though you didn't have the financial resources, the obligation is still done. So say for example, you got a sponsored Hajj, or your family, someone came and gifted you money for Hajj, or someone booked a Hajj for you, or you managed to get there somehow, and you did your Hajj, then even though you weren't financially able to do so, your Hajj is still done. That doesn't mean, oh, I didn't have the money, so it was a further than me, so maybe did my Hajj count? That's a question that sometimes comes, so don't worry about that. And like we said, Hajj is performed only during these 5 days. So if I go to Mina tomorrow and start doing some of these things, or if I go to Arafat and I start doing wuquf over there, making dua, it's not time yet. Just like if I start praying my Maghrib Salah now, it's not the time yet. Similarly, Hajj is only during these 5 days, the 8th to the 12th of Dhul Hijjah. Now most likely this year, the 8th of Dhul Hijjah will be on the Monday. If, for example, they don't sight the moon, then it could be on Tuesday. Most likely it will be on Monday. Now, most packages, they might have told you that they start taking you from the night before from Makkah to Mina. But when you talk about Hajj tomorrow, we'll go through all of that, inshallah. So the next thing now is the types of Hajj. So there are 3 types of Hajj you can do. The first one is the hardest, most difficult, but also the most rewarding, the most superior. And that is called the Qiran Hajj. What does Qiran mean? Qiran means to join. So you join your ihram of your Umrah to the ihram of Hajj. So what will happen when you get to Makkah, you will do your Umrah, but you won't cut your hair. You'll stay in ihram. And then you'll stay in ihram until Hajj starts, and then that's now your ihram for Hajj. You don't need to re-enter or anything. You're already in ihram, and then you just go on for your Hajj. That's the first one. Now, if you're going to Makkah, maybe only 1 or 2 days before the Hajj, maybe you get to Makkah Friday night or Saturday. You've only got 1 or 2 days, it's your first Hajj, you got the strength and the ability and energy to do so, and you can survive for the extra 2 days in your ihram, then maybe it's a good idea, you might want to do this. It's the most rewarding. But if you can't, don't feel that, oh, I can't, I've got 5 days till before Hajj starts, I can't do that. You don't have to, don't worry. Because the Prophet ﷺ himself did the Qiran, but he told most of the Sahaba to do Tamattu. So Tamattu Hajj is what most of us will do. Is when you get to Makkah, you'll perform your Umrah. When you finish your Umrah, you'll cut your hair, you'll come out of Ihram. You can, everything as normal. There's no prohibitions now. Anything that you could do in Leicester, you can do there as well. Yeah? Anything you want to use, any cutting of any hair or nails or any deodorants, anything, all of that is completely fine to do. And then when the days of Hajj comes, you will re-enter into Ihram, and that'll be now you're entering into the Ihram of Hajj. So you've made the best of both. You've got your Umrah there done, and now you're doing your Umrah, your Hajj as well. That's what most of us will do. The third type of Hajj is called the Ifrad Hajj. And the Ihram you put on, or the state of Ihram you enter, will be only for Hajj. This might be, for example, if for example you go Medina first, and actually you're going to be in Medina till Sunday. And from Sunday they're going to take you to Makkah. They're going to go straight into either Mina or into Azizia or wherever else it is, and then from there into Mina. So really you're not going to get to do an Umrah. So you won't get to do an Umrah, but you will have to do one tawaf, and that is called Tawaf al-Qudum, your tawaf for arriving in Makkah. Only tawaf. You don't need to do sa'i, you don't need to cut your hair. If you want to do your sa'i for Hajj beforehand, you can do so, but you don't have to do sa'i then. So that's just a tawaf. Now this normally, the only people that do Ifrad Hajj mostly is 2. Either they are residents of Makkah, because they are not going to do an Umrah because they already live in Makkah. Or number 2, if for sisters who, for example, you're not sure if your time of the month is going to happen now, or you know that when you get to Makkah you're going to be still in your period and it's probably going to end just before Hajj or during Hajj, then in that scenario the best thing for you to do is put your ihram, when you enter ihram, do the intention of doing an ifrad Hajj. But when you talk about the rules of ihram and the intention, I'll explain what the sisters need to do in that scenario at that point. Now throughout this, although some of these slides I have put in your booklets, if there's anything that you do want to take a picture of these slides, feel free to take any pictures. But like we said, maybe you don't want to, because I said we're doing an unplugged pilgrimage, inshallah, so we're not going to use our phone. But the rule is for all of us, any non-resident of Makkah that is traveling to Makkah, you must be in the state of ihram, and you have to do an umrah to exit the ihram. So if the key word here is your destination is Makkah. If I'm going Medina first, or I'm going to take a couple of days in Jeddah or Riyadh or Dammam or anywhere else in Saudi Arabia, even though I might enter the miqat zone, I don't have to be in ihram. So if I'm landing in Jeddah, but actually I'm going Medina first, I'm not going Makkah first, I don't need to be in ihram, it's fine. Yeah, this is only for those people whose first destination is Makkah. They have to be in a state of ihram and they have to perform umrah. So first of all, today's session mostly is going to focus on Ihram and Umrah, like we said. And tomorrow we'll talk about the 5 days of Hajj. So now let's talk about actual Ihram, the rules of Ihram. So when it comes to Umrah, there are 4 steps of Umrah. Number 1 is Ihram. Number 2 is you need to do Tawaf around the Kaaba. Number 3, you need to do Sa'i, going between the 2 mountains of Safa and Marwa. And number 4, you cut your hair. Like we said, if you're doing Qur'an, you're joining your Umrah and Hajj together, you leave out number 4 until you finish your Hajj. So now, most of today's session will be focusing on these 4 things. So what is Ihram? Not just these 2 white cloths. If I was to wear these 2 white cloths right now, am I going to be in Ihram? No, because these are just 2 pieces of clothing. In fact, the Sahaba and the Prophet ﷺ and the people of Arabia at the time, most of the people, this was their normal day-to-day clothing. They used to have one cloth, they used to wrap around the bottom half of their body, what we might call a lungi or an izar or a loin cloth. That was the bottom half of the body. And the upper half of the body, they'd have another cloth that they would wrap around, and then they would wear a turban and imamah. That was their normal clothing. Only those that could maybe afford to pay a tailor or buy garments that had sleeves made and made into a jubbar or a shirt, they would wear that. Otherwise, most people will be wearing what we wear in Ihram. So actually, this is just normal clothing. So now, what's the difference? Why do we call it Ihram? It's not the clothing called Ihram. It's because of the ruling maybe we'll talk about next. But Ihram is a state. Just like if I do wudu, I'm in the state of wudu. If I needed to do ghusl and I've done ghusl, I'm in the state of ghusl. Or if I've broken my wudu, I'm now not in the state of wudu. So it's a state that you're going to enter. And for females, they don't have to wear this, so that's why also for them. So Ihram is a state that you're going to enter. What does it mean? Ihram, you might think it sounds similar to the word haram. Yeah, it has the same root letters in Arabic. Ha, ra, mim, haram. So in Ihram, in the state of Ihram, there's certain things that are now haram for you, which would be completely fine, and at times even rewarding for you to do. So for example, it's a day of Jumu'ah. One of the sunnats of the day of Jumu'ah is to use some perfume. So I have some itar and I put some itar on. MashaAllah, I've done a sunnah, I've got a good deed. It's a rewarding thing to do, right? If I do that in Ihram, it's actually haram for me to do that. Yeah? So something that at times is rewarding to do, now suddenly becomes haram. That's why it's called Ihram. So when does that happen? First of all is you need to make sure that whatever rulings of the clothing apply. But the rules only apply once you enter the state. And to enter the state of Ihram, we have to have made an intention and say the labbaik. And the main thing that actually makes the rules apply is your talbiyah, your labbaik. When you say labbaik, Allahumma labbaik. So, first of all, what you're going to do, you're going to wear your clothing of Ihram. If you're male, you need to make sure you got the right clothing. For females, whatever, when we go through the rules for that, we make sure that applies. Even though I've worn that, does the rules apply yet? No. So now I've worn it, can I still use perfume? I can. Yeah, this is a misconception some people have. Some people think that on the clothing of Ihram also you can't use any perfume. So if I, for example, have an Ihram that is not brand new and I want to put it in the washing machine, I'm going to use detergent that's got fragrance in it. That would mean I can't do that also. No. You can use perfume on your body and the clothes of Ihram up till you enter the state of Ihram. Once you enter, you can't. So yes, I've worn the Ihram. I've paid my 2 rakats. Now you need to pay 2 rakats. These 2 rakats you're going to pray, you can pray that at home. You can even pray that before you wear your Ihram. You can pray it after. You can pray at home, pray at the airport. You can pray on the aeroplane also if you're going a direct flight. Most of us might be going Saudi Airlines. On Saudi Airlines, they've got a salah area at the back also. You want to pray on there, you can pray there. You can pray anywhere. And as part of that, you might make a dua. And that part of the dua might be you're making an intention. Even if I've done that, the rules still don't apply yet. Up till I say, Labbaik Allahumma labbaik. Labbaik la sharika laka labbaik. Innal hamda wa ni'mata laka wal mulk la sharika laka. The moment I say the word labbaik, all the rules apply now. So I normally advise, whether in my Umrah workshops or Hajj workshops, I advise everybody, if you're going to Makkah first and it's your destination, you're in your Ihram, delay your labbaik. Don't say your labbaik yet, up till you know you're close to the miqat. Why? Because a very common question I get asked, even people who come to the workshop, it happens. I get a message, Maulana, I went to the toilet and then I went to wash my hands and I used the soap. I forgot. It's natural, normally. Any public toilet you go, you come out, you stand, you open the tap, the first thing you do, you put your hand towards the soap dispenser. It's your second nature, you do that all the time. A very common mistake. Now if, say for example, you are in a transit flight, you're going for example Qatar Airways or any other airways and you got stopped, let's say in Doha, and you went to the toilet there. No, you're not in the miqat zone, you don't have to be in ihram. If you haven't said your labbaik, you can use that soap. Or you had lunch there and you wash your hands, you can use that. But if you have said my labbaik already at home or on the plane from Leicester or from whichever airport you're going, you've already said your labbaik, the rules apply, you can't do that. So really, if you want to, I would really advise delaying your labbaik up till you know you are close enough to the miqat. Now, all airlines, all the Arabian airlines definitely, but most airlines, that even other airlines that go to Saudi Arabia, but all the Arab airlines do this anyway, and all of us, we're going either by one of the Arabian airlines, they will make an announcement. We are now approaching the miqat boundary. Then you will know I need to say my labbaik if I haven't already. Now, if you want to delay your labbaik, but then you feel, actually, I'm tired, I want to have a little nap on a plane. Some of us can't sleep on a plane, so it won't apply to us. But for those of us that can sleep on a plane, you might be very tired, you want to have a nap. In that scenario, pray your labbaik before you fall asleep. Yeah, when the last Umrah trip we went on, I take students from our school to Umrah trip. So we went on an Umrah trip in October, and the second flight we had was actually quite in the late hours of the night. And most of us, including myself, were very tired. So we were falling asleep as we got into the second flight to go towards Makkah, to go towards Jeddah. So then I went around the aircraft to everybody, and I told them, look, wake up, see your labbaik, and then go back to sleep. Because most likely it looks like you're going to sleep through, you're going to miss the announcement. And if you miss the announcement, you forgot to see your labbaik, and you enter the miqat zone, then you have been a violation, you need to pay a penalty. Or you have to come back out of the miqat zone, pray your labbaik, and come back in. Now, for some of us, we're not going to have the time and the resources to be able to do that. So yes, I know I did say delay your labbaik, but if you want to go to sleep, see your labbaik first so that you don't miss it. Because it has to be done before the miqat. Now, what does miqat mean? We'll talk about that shortly. Let's talk about the rulings of the clothing first. So when it comes to females, we'll talk about the rulings of females first because it's the easiest. For males, we've got much more rulings. A woman's ihram is basically just their normal modest clothing. Your abaya, your jilbab, your khimar, your burqa, from which nothing can be seen except your face, hands and feet, and devoid of any adornment. So, and females can wear any footwear. You can even wear socks, you can wear trainers, shoes, anything. Any footwear is completely fine. The only rule for females is that you can't have anything directly sitting on your face. So alongside, yes, no face mask, but also no niqab. So those sisters that practice wearing a niqab, what do they do in that scenario? If they don't feel comfortable showing their face in front of their non-mahrams, then what they normally do is they have a cap or something, and on top of that they have an additional scarf or something, or a piece of cloth, or they have a Hajj niqab. Here we've got some at the back if any sisters want to see. Similar to the picture over here, it's a cap, and on top of that cap the niqab is sewed on, so that the niqab they're wearing does not sit on their face. It doesn't violate the rules of ihram, because if they do that, then they would have to also pay a penalty. But you don't have to cover your face in that scenario. So if you don't want to, then obviously you can just wear your scarf, and that is your ihram done. So in terms of the clothing, very simple, easy, straightforward rulings in terms of clothing for females. For males, however, the ruling is now more complicated. So we have to wear two pure and clean, unstitched garments. These can be new, or you can use an ihram you've had before, but it's good to wash them before you go. We're going there to get purified by Allah. We want purity, but also as part of that purity, you want physical purity. You want to ensure that the ihram you're wearing is also, alongside pure, also clean. So if you've worn it before, or it's been in the attic for a couple of years and it's gone slightly decolored, and you don't want to buy a new ihram because you know that when you go, your Hajj provider said, we're going to give you another ihram when you get to Makkah, then it's fine. Just put it in the washing machine before you go. Wash it so that it is clean also. Now, by unstitched, this is where is a big misconception many people get mixed up on. By unstitched, they think it means you can't have anything that's got any stitching on it. So, for example, many people use a belt to tie the ihram. Now, on this belt, you will see there's stitching on the edge here. There's seam that has been sewn. Yeah, and they say, oh, how can you wear this? It's got stitching on it. It's sewn. Or maybe they might have a bag or anything else to hold the ihram. Like people use a rucksack, they use a pouch. All of that has stitching. It's completely fine. By unstitched, it means that your lower cloth, your lungi cloth, your izar, you've not sewn it into trousers. You've not made, you haven't got it stitched. So it's got one for your right leg, one for your left leg. That's what it means by unstitched. Your top garment, you've not stitched it, so it's become like a collar, and then you've made some sleeves in there, so you can slit your arms into. That's what it means by unstitched. So if anything like this does have stitching on, it's completely fine. You are allowed to wear that. The thing that is unstitched is, it's not been stitched like a normal your jubba that you're wearing, or your t-shirt you're wearing, or your top you're wearing, that's had sleeves stitched into it. It's been stitched into your right leg and your left leg, into trousers. That's what it means by unstitched. Yeah. So anything other than that, it is completely fine. So because when you wear your ihram, you can't wear anything else underneath. And this is where everybody gets anxious. Maybe for some of you, if it's your first time going for both Hajj and Umrah, maybe you've never been anywhere without wearing underwear or without wearing anything underneath. So now you're going to be very anxious. How am I going to ensure that it doesn't fall off? So for that, you might want to use other things like a belt. You might want to use some safety pins or some magnets or whatever else you want to use to hold your ihram down so that your ihram does not fall off. With that, I'll mention right now, when you get if you got your ihram, you bought a new ihram and it's a nice packaging and you've packed it till the day you're going to wear it, don't keep it like that. When you go home today, open your ihram, practice wearing your ihram, go walk up and down the stairs, or go, it's nice weather, and now walk around your garden or whatever, do some star jumps or anything, do some exercises or something in your ihram, so you know you're comfortable. Because you don't want to be, you worn it for the first time, you're there now, you're in a public place in front of everybody, and you're trying to walk with your suitcase and you're holding your ihram and you're scared it's going to fall off. Or you tied it in the wrong way. We're going to have a demonstration in a little while anyway. Or you tied it in a way where maybe you've got no leg room and now you're stuck. You can't adjust your ihram now in front of everybody. And there's no toilets. So you're in a plane or somewhere, or you're somewhere where there's no toilets. What are you going to do? So really practice wearing your ihram so you're comfortable with it and you've got good practice, inshallah. Now the other rule for males, you can't cover your head. No hats, no scarf, and also similar to females, you can't wear any face mask or anything covering your face. Now, what happens? A very common mistake happens over here. People who haven't come, they weren't as fortunate as you to go to these workshops and learn about the rules. You will see they go for Hajj or they go for Umrah, and they, mashallah, they want to pray the Jum'ah Salah near the Kaaba, for example, in the Mataf area, and they got a nice spot and they think they're happy, alhamdulillah. Now, what happens? They've been there for a couple of hours, but as the sun starts to come up and it's midday, and then the sun is at its peak, and now they've got the ihram on, and the sun is right above their heads, and they need shade. They haven't got anything to shade there with, so what they do, they get the ihram cloth and they hold it. Now, if I hold my ihram like this high up, it's not sitting on my head, it's fine. The moment I wear it like a scarf or like this, and I cover my head, and it's sitting on my head, that is a violation of the rules of ihram. There will be penalties to pay depending on how long you have that on your head. So, if you do see someone around you, don't start shouting at them, say, oh, what are you doing? No, tell them in a nice way, you can't do that in ihram. If they don't want to listen, you've done your job, you've told them, you just focus on yourself right now, make sure you don't do that. Yeah. So try and ensure that you don't do that. You can use umbrellas or anything else to shade you, that's completely fine, but no hats, no scarf, nothing sitting on your head. And in terms of footwear also, there's very specific footwear that you can wear. You can't wear even sandals, you can't wear every sandal and every slippers, and there's only very specific footwear you can wear. So for that, we'll look at that on the next slide. The rule is, there is a portion on your foot, a bone in your foot called the Ka'b region, which needs to be exposed. Now what is this? The ulama have a difference of opinion. What is the actual bone that is called the Ka'b? So, for everybody, if you look at the right image over here, this is only for males, by the way. For females, this rule does not apply, it's only for males. Where you see this, the image of a foot on the right hand side, I've put a red line and a black line. Anything below the red line can be covered, that is completely fine. So any footwear that covers any region below that red line, it is completely fine, you can do that. Anything on or above the black line has to be exposed. So anything that is in line with the Ka'b region. Now, according to the Hanafi ulama, according to Imam Mohammed, the student of Imam Hanifa, who was a master in Arabic language, he came to the conclusion that the Ka'b region, the bone is actually the arched bone at the middle of our foot. So we see on the bones over here, we've circled it in this red spot over there. So this is the area of the bone the arch on your foot. This is what needs to be exposed. So now if I wear, for example, normal slippers or sliders, that covers that region, I can't wear those. Or I might have that region open, but actually I've got a strap at the back or somewhere else on my foot that goes above the black line, that is in line with that bone. I can't wear those. There'll be some people that have posted, I've seen images on some groups where they have posted this certain sandal and they say, you can wear these sandals, but it's got a strap that is not covering the middle bone, but it's actually covering the corner of the foot. Or is a strap at the back which is just underneath the ankle, but actually above the black line. Or they've got some other footwear that covers everything else under the red area, but actually the back of that footwear goes above the black line also on this image. Any of those footwear you can't. Now why we're having this discussion? Because when you go for Hajj, it's really important you get good, comfortable footwear. There'll be a lot of walking to do. Now when you're not in Ihram, you can wear what you want. When you're in Ihram, you've got to ensure that you've got the right footwear. So it has to meet the rulings of the fiqh, but also it's got to be comfortable. Now if I get those cheap £2, £1 flip-flops, yeah, it might be okay for the first 2 days, but the amount of walking you're going to do, you're going to get some blisters maybe by your toes, on your heels, on your feet. You're really going to damage your feet. So really make sure you got some good footwear. And if you want to look at some ones we've got at the back also, you can look at some if you haven't got some already. But get some that are comfortable, that are good. And if you want to, for example, put a plaster in between your toes when you wear your footwear, then you can do that. You're allowed to do that. Yeah, you can actually have all of your toes covered. Remember. So if I have some, if you look in this image over here in the middle, it's not as clear. There was these, they were called 5 fingers. The company stopped making them now, but they were quite good. People used to wear them for Hajj and Umrah, where it covered just the right areas. So it wasn't like a flip-flop. So if you have any footwear you find online or somewhere that is really comfortable, and anything above the black line is open, you can wear that. So for example, also sometimes you will get those invisible socks that people wear, or those trainer socks that you don't, and they actually don't cover those areas. You can wear those socks, even though it covers your toes. Yeah? As long as you got to ensure though, however, with those socks, a lot of them, they will be okay for the rest of the foot, but the area behind the heel, where the ankle is, it slightly comes above the black line. So then you need to make sure of that area. So easiest obviously, just to get some maybe really comfortable, good quality flip-flops, because that will ensure that it covers all of those rules. But if you want to look at some other footwear, if you've got the time and the energy and resources to be able to do so, then as long as it covers only what's below the red line, you are able to do that. If it doesn't, then you won't be able to do that. Once your ihram is done, you've exited the state of ihram, then you can wear anything. You can wear normal socks, normal shoes, anything, whatever you want. But remember, for both males and females, you want to have something that is breathable, because it is a hot weather, hot climate, and something that is comfortable, because there is a lot of walking to do. And I'm sure you had many people say this to you, be ready for all of the walking you need to do. So now we said, we do not enter, the rules do not apply. Even though I've worn all the clothing and I've prayed my 2 rakats and made a dua and anything, it does not apply up till we say the talbiyah. What is the talbiyah? Let's all say this together. We're going for Hajj. Let's prepare from now. It'll be nice if we all, instead of only me talking, all of us say this together. So let's say the talbiyah together. Labbaik Allahumma labbaik. Labbaik la sharika laka labbaik. Innal hamda wan ni'mata laka wal mulk. La sharika lak. The moment we say this, the rules apply. Now what is labbaik? Maybe the last time some of us may have said labbaik is when you were in madrasa and the Maulana was doing the register, or the Appa was doing the register. They said your name and you said labbaik, I'm here. Yeah? Labbaik is answering a call. So whose call are we answering? Ibrahim alayhi salam was told by Allah to build the Kaaba. And then he was told by Allah, وَأَذِّن فِي النَّاسِ بِالْحَجِّ. Call and announce to the people to come and do Hajj. Now as we know, Ibrahim alayhi salam was alone. It was just him, Ismail and Hajar. There was no one there at that time yet. So he said to Allah, there's nobody here. My voice can only go so far in this desert. Who's going to hear me? Or did Allah say, it's your job to make the call? My job to make people hear and answer that call. So we are answering that call of Ibrahim alayhi salam. Thousands of years later, we are all saying, we just said it now in Leicester, and soon we're going to be saying it in the airport, and then on the aircraft, and then when we get to Saudi Arabia, wherever we go, we are all answering the call of Ibrahim alayhi salam. And this is a miracle of Ibrahim alayhi salam, and his legacy, that thousands of years later, every single day, there are thousands of people, millions of people that are answering the call of Ibrahim alayhi salam by saying, Labbaik Allahumma labbaik. Number 2, it is the house of Allah. We are the guests of Allah. Allah has called us. So we are saying, Labbaik Allahumma labbaik. Labbaik, oh Allah, labbaik, oh Allah, I am here. So you're saying to Allah, we have come to Allah's house. And lastly, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has invited us to this religion, and there is one hadith in which he gives an example of a inviter to the house of Allah, in that he is meaning himself. So that is the invitation of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam also. So we're also answering his call. So now it's not just we said it once now, and we're going to say it once to enter the state of ihram, and that's it. No, the labbaik should be read as much as possible. So as soon as you hear the miqat boundary announcement on the plane, let's get the whole aircraft to say labbaik together. I remember 2-3 years ago, we went for Umrah in Ramadan, and when we were going, we had a smaller flight, internal flight, and me and some of our friends, we started saying labbaik, and after a short time, the entire aircraft was saying labbaik. We missed all of the announcements. So when the captain said cabin crew prepare for landing, or we were going to land, we didn't hear anything because the whole plane was rocking with labbaik. The only time we realized, and it was night time as well, we couldn't see outside. The only time we realized we're landing is when the plane hit the runway. So that gives you a spirituality boost also. When everybody around you, you're saying it together, you feel good. So really, the big should be read as much as possible. When you're waiting in the queue at the customs, at the airport, you're going towards your transport, you get onto your mode of transport, you're making your way towards Makkah, you see the signs towards Makkah, you're going from Jeddah, there's a bridge in the shape of a Quran stand. If you see that bridge, or nowadays the first thing you can see when you're approaching Makkah is the clock tower, so you see that, or you see the mountains of Makkah, anything that is bringing you closer to Makkah. You enter Makkah, every street, every valley, every road, we should say labbaik Allahumma labbaik, labbaik la sharika lak labbaik, as much as possible. This is part of the way of being in the state of ihram, and this is not only for Hajj, also when you go for Umrah. If you go again for Umrah also, we should do that also as well. So now, what is the process of entering into ihram? So first of all, we want to do ghusl at home, and then any self-care you need to do. You might need to cut your nails, do some shaving. If you have some lotions, creams that you need to use that have got fragrance in it, your deodorants, your perfumes, all of this, do that now. And then either pray your 2 rakats or put your ihram on and then pray your 2 rakats. So number 3 and number 4 can be swapped around. So the 2 rakats, like we said at the start, can be performed anywhere. At home, in the airport, in the aircraft, anywhere. You've got your clothing, the rules all apply. So for example, if sisters were wearing the niqab and then they need to change the niqab, and then you make your intention, and then remember, it is not until you say your labbaik that gets you into the rules of ihram. Now, say for example, if you just scan the QR code, put the question on there, inshallah. I will go through all the questions at the end, inshallah. So now, the rules of ihram, like we said, does not apply up till number 6. However, what intention do you make? So for sisters especially, if you're unsure about your time of the month and your menstrual cycle, you're not sure whether you're going to be able to do an Umrah when you get there, or whether your period will finish in time for you to do an Umrah when you get there, just don't make any intention of specific rites. Just make an intention, I am entering in the state of ihram. Leave it open. And even for brother, if you feel that actually I might change my mind, I'm going to decide whether I'm going to do qiran or tamattu when I finish my Umrah, depending on how much energy I have, just make it, I'm doing intention for ihram. When you get there, you do your Umrah, and then once you finish your sa'i, if you want to decide, okay, I'm going to keep this ihram on, you can actually change your intention and make it that actually, now I want to do qiran, actually I've got the energy, I want to stay in the same ihram. Yeah, but the fact is, before you see your labbaik, or when you see your labbaik, you need to know your intention. Doesn't mean that you have to pray a dua. There's a dua here, Allahumma inni uridul umrah, oh Allah, I want to do an umrah. It's a recommended dua. Some people say, you can say in any language, oh Allah, I'm doing an ihram for umrah, make it easy for me, accept it from me. You can say in any language. You don't have to say also, intention doesn't mean to say something. Intention is a misconception people have also when it comes to salah and other actions. They think you have to say something. Have you said your niyyah? Intention not say. Intention means, what does intention mean in English also? Why you're doing something. Now we all know why you're doing it, but you need to just specify. So if I go now, for example, if I go to the masjid and just start praying some salah, and I'm going to decide within my salah which salah I'm going to pray, I can't do that. I need to know when I'm starting, when I do my takbir, whether I'm praying sunnah, when I'm praying farad, when I'm praying maghrib, I'm praying isha, doing qada, what am I praying? I need to know that. I don't have to say, I need to know that. That's what same with Hajj and Umrah for ihram. I need to know, I am now entering into ihram. Either just ihram on its own, or ihram for Umrah, or ihram for Hajj, or both. That's your intention. But you need to have made your mind up in terms of I am doing an ihram before you say labbaik, and then you can add to the intention later, but the primary intention has to be there. However, if I do an intention for qiran, then beforehand, and then I say my labbaik, then it gets slightly complicated. So just if you want to change your mind, just leave it vague at the beginning. But ideally, just make an intention for Umrah first, because even if you do qiran, you're still going to do your Umrah, so you can still include that. So the easiest way, the first ihram you wear, just make an intention. For males especially, I am doing an intention to enter into ihram for Umrah. You don't have to say it, just know that in your mind you're doing it for Umrah. Later on you get there, you can say, okay, I'm going to keep it to Hajj now and keep it Quran, or you exit, and when you re-enter for Hajj, we'll talk about that tomorrow, then you just change your intention then how to do that. So all of this, including your labbaik, has to be done before or at the miqat. Now what is miqat? Miqat are specific places that a pilgrim cannot cross without being in a state of ihram. You are not allowed to enter this zone without having said your labbaik and all those 6 parts done. If you are going to Mecca first and you're landing at Jeddah airport, if for example you missed that announcement, or there were some technical difficulties in the PA system or in the screens, then easiest way to know, when you have your time of arrival, 15-20 minutes before you land in Jeddah, you get to the miqat boundary. So that's by that point you need to make sure you've said your labbaik and all you've got ready to be in ihram. So these are zones assigned by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where he said that a person cannot pass without being in a state of ihram. So this is the map of the miqat zone. If you go to Medina first, then you don't need to worry about this because you'll be in Medina. But when you're leaving Medina, on the outskirts of Medina, there is an area called Abar Ali, which is also called Dhul Hulayfa. There is a masjid there built now also. It's part of the blessed valley of Al-Aqiq. Rasulullah, when he was traveling for his first Umrah, he was told by Jibreel alayhi salam, this is a blessed valley. Allah wants you to do your intention from here and enter into ihram here. So he got off his camel and he paid his 2 rakats, and then he said his labbaik, and then that's where they entered. Nowadays it's part of the actual city of Medina. So if you go Medina first and your group decides that you're not going to actually make a stop there, you don't have to. It's sunnah to go there, you don't have to go there. But if you got more time, you want to go there yourself, or you're going by train, so obviously you're not going to get there, or your coach is not going to make a stop there, most likely they won't. So if you want to go slightly earlier in the morning or something, just take a taxi or Uber from Masjid Nabawi or your hotel. It's only about 15-20 minutes to Dhul Hulayfa from there. Go to Dhul Hulayfa. If you want to pay your 2 rakats, you can do it from there. However, you don't have to go there. So if you're in Medina, your 2 rakats, you can pray in Masjid Nabawi. It'd be a good idea to do it there. You get extra reward. Or you can do it from your hotel in Medina also. It doesn't have to be at Dhul Hulayfa. That is the miqat boundary. You can't go past that. If you're going on a train, then normally after the first 5-6 minutes, they make an announcement. We are now approaching the miqat boundary. But the train announcement, as you know, just like in England is much more worse, but most countries, announcements on the train, it sounds like the person announcing has taken the mic inside his mouth. You can't hear anything. Yeah. So you might hear something being said. Most likely they're saying miqat boundary. So just make sure that you said your labbaik before that if you're going by train. Now, us traveling from the Western world, if you got a direct flight and we're landing at Jeddah, our miqat is going to be a place called Juhfa. Now, we don't need to know where it is and what its name is really, but if you see where Juhfa is, Jeddah is already within that zone. It's within that airspace, which is why we have to do it before 15-20 minutes before we get to Jeddah. So that's over there. Then if you're coming from the south, or you're coming from South Africa, etc., your miqat for the people of Yemen is a place called Yalamlam. And then if you're coming from countries like Kuwait, if you're in Kuwait Airlines, Gulf Air from Bahrain, Qatar Airlines, then they will be coming from a place called Dhatu Irq. And then if you're coming from any Emirates Airlines or anything, for example, the subcontinent, if you're coming from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, etc., or Malaysia, or anywhere from the Eastern world, their miqat is called Qarn al-Manazil, which is actually the closest miqat. So say, for example, you did fall asleep and you forgot to see your labbaik and you landed in Jeddah. So now what you need to do is you need to take a taxi and go to Qarn al-Manazil. It's about maybe 55 minutes. If there's no traffic, maybe 45 minutes. If there's a lot of traffic, maybe around an hour to get there from Mecca. You go there, you see your labbaik and you come back in. If you don't do that, then you have violated, one of the violations is entering into the miqat zone without the rules of the ihram applying. Now just because you've worn it and you've done your dua and your intention and everything, if you haven't said your labbaik, you've not done that before or at the miqat, then you violated that. So as we said, Medina, Dhul Hulayfa. Now if you want to do another Umrah, say after Hajj finishes, you at Medina first, you've got quite a lot of days in Mecca, and actually, you got the energy, you rested from Hajj, and I want to do one more Umrah. What do? You then go to a place called Tan'im. Tan'im, there's a masjid there called Masjid Aisha, and you can do it from there. Or if you go later on, you go for Umrah again, maybe in the summer holidays or anywhere else, you go for Umrah, and then you want to do another Umrah, second or third Umrah. Although it's not advised, you don't get extra reward for that, it's better to do more tawaf. But if you want to do that, maybe you want to do it on behalf of some deceased family members or something, then you go to a masjid called Masjid Aisha, you do the 2 rakat salah, the intention and the labbaik from there, and then you come back in. Now, why Masjid Aisha? Because this is outside the haram boundary. So we had 2 slides ago, we have the miqat boundary. Now we have this is another boundary, this is the haram boundary. Now this is very important for all of us because especially if you're not going to be staying in Mecca, you're going to be staying in Azizia, for example. or you're staying in Khalidiyya or somewhere else, which is quite distant from Makkatul Mukarramah. Now, you might feel a bit sad. I've paid all this money, I've come all the way here, I'm not actually spending that much time near the Kaaba. Or I'm not actually praying my salah with Jama'ah in actual Masjid al-Haram. You might feel a bit sad, right? Yeah, it happens. You know, you feel a bit sad. How come I've paid all this money and I'm not doing that? It doesn't matter, because actually the reward for praying in Masjid al-Haram is not specific to the masjid. It's specific to this haram boundary over here. Anywhere in this entire boundary, any salah you perform, the reward of that is multiplied by 100,000 times. Not 5 times or 10 times or 25 times or 1,000 times even. Not even 100,000 times is multiplied. That could be anywhere. Now, where the word grand is, on top of that, the white area, the lighting is not that clear, this image, but on top of the word grand, that white area, that's Masjid al-Haram itself. Then on the right of the word mosque, that white area, that's Mina. That's where we're going to be on the days of Mina. Then the mountain adjacent to that, the land adjacent to that, on the right hand side over there, that is Muzdalifah. And then after that, you've got, towards the end, you've got Arafat up till the boundary. So everywhere we're going to be doing Hajj, we are in the Haram boundary. So every salah you perform, whether you perform it in Mina, in Muzdalifah, in Arafat, or you're in Aziziyah, you're in Khalidiyah, you're in any other area of Makkah, you're in Qudai, just because you don't get to go Masjid al-Haram, that doesn't mean that you're going to get less reward. You get the same reward in the whole boundary. Also, this is a sacred boundary. So there's certain things that you need to think twice before doing. How you conduct yourself, what you do. You can't, so for example, one of the rules of the Haram boundary, you can't clip, or destroy trees or plants or anything. Some people might have a habit, if they're walking on the street, there's some bushes or trees, they might start pulling leaves off or something. Some children have a habit like that. So if you go to do that in Makkah, you've done something sinful. Yeah, you can't do that. It's haram. That's why it's called a haram boundary. Yeah. So there's specific rules of what you can't do over here. Any good deed you do here is multiplied. Any bad deed you do here is so much more worse. So the entirety of this boundary, the Haram boundary. Now Masjid Aisha is in the north, where it says northward. Tan'im is over there. So that's outside the Haram boundary. So to enter a new Ihram for Umrah, you have to exit the boundary. But for Hajj, when we talk about Hajj tomorrow, you won't need to exit this boundary. Yeah? For Hajj, you don't need to exit this boundary. We'll talk about it tomorrow, inshallah. Right, so what is it that is haram? I've been mentioning quite a lot that your violations or your prohibitions. There are some things that you can't do. These 7 categories of things you cannot do in the state of ihram. Number 1, indulging, embracing and talking about marital relations. Number 2, indulging in any sinful activities. That's normally we're not supposed to do sins as it is. But when it comes in a state of ihram, obviously it's so much more worse. Number 3, hunting, killing animals or indicating towards it. Now, this doesn't apply to us as much. The reason of this rule was because normally when they used to travel through the desert for Hajj or Umrah, they'd be in ihram, but they'd be traveling with people that aren't. So they get hungry, they want to sacrifice an animal, they can't do it themselves, but the people in the caravan or the group that is traveling with them, they can. So if they were to point that, can you maybe slaughter this goat for me, or this camel, or this sheep, if they point towards it, they've violated an ihram. If they say, I'm hungry, let's cut some animals, can you cut some animals? They don't point, they don't indicate towards it, then it's fine. Nowadays, the only way this could apply to us is maybe if you went maybe for Umrah or Hajj maybe 15, 20 years ago, and the facilities weren't as good as they are now, and there might be a lot of, cockroaches or other rodents, other animals in your accommodation, and you might not want that there. So obviously you can't kill it yourself because you're in ihram. So if you call the hotel staff, if I point towards it, can you kill that cockroach over there or that animal over there? Can you remove it? And if you pointed towards it, that would have been a violation. I'm not trying to scare you. There's not going to be any cockroaches or like that. Well, its facilities now are very, very good. But those that are elderly, you've been before, maybe 15, 20 years ago, even before, yeah, it wasn't as good, especially in Makkah and in and around Makkah. Yeah, it was quite challenging, especially for people from the UK, where we are generally more clean freaks compared to other cultures. And as such, maybe, we find certain things that they might find normal. We're not comfortable in those scenarios. But don't worry, I'm not trying to scare you. You won't be like that anymore. Facility is quite good, alhamdulillah. Number 4, this is the main one where people get their violations from, and that is using any scented or perfume products, whether on your body, your clothing, or in your food or drink. So for example, you might see they've got some Medina rose water tea and coffee they have or something. Or some of they're adding things in your food or drink. That would be not permissible to use. But any scented or perfume product. So now when it comes to there's been I've seen a lot on these Umrah and Hajj groups, people are sharing certain products that says it is odorless or with unperfumed or unscented, but you've got to double check the ingredients still, because some of these, so even we, but in our family, we ordered some, they wanted some deodorants from, I think it was by Simple, that said it was without any scent in there. But if you actually look at the ingredients, it says it says actually it's got perfume in the ingredients. So then you can't use that. Yeah, and if you actually spray it and you can smell, it's not just an odorless thing, it's got some smell that is actually not a bad smell, it's a good smell, a pleasant smell, or it's okay smell, it's still got a smell that is slightly fragrance or perfume, you can't use that. So just because it says unscented, not unscented does not equal fragrance free. If it says fragrance free, then you know there's no fragrance in the ingredients, but still double check the ingredients. Yeah, so if there's items on the market that are solely for Hajj and Umrah that says, fragrance free soap or something like that, they have been specially made without any ingredients that are fragrance ingredients. Yeah, but the high street ones, like brands like Simple or any other brands, you gotta still double check the ingredients that it does not have any scent on there. With that also, if you're in the state of Ihram, you don't touch the Kaaba, you don't go and kiss the black stone, you don't hold onto the cloth of the Kaaba, because on a daily basis they apply perfume to that, very rich and heavy perfume. So if you do that and you're going to go and touch the Kaaba, or you're going to go and mashallah make dua and cry over there, and you're in the state of Ihram, you've violated the rules of Ihram. And that's why it's really important that you are paying attention to that. Number 5, removing any hair, nails, shaving, plucking, clipping, or any other ways. This is the second way where some people also make a violation. If you remove any hair, so say for example, some people like myself also, we have a habit that we like to play with our beard at times. And when you do that, actually, I am removing strands of hair. Every strand of hair I removed, I've made a violation of Ihram. Or if I'm performing wudu and I am rubbing my, and as I do that, I'm pulling up my beard and I'm pulling those hairs out, that is a violation. Now, the main thing over here is you have to do something physical to remove that hair. So if someone has very thin hair and it just falls out without them even touching it at times, then they are excused. But if you've actually, for example, played with your hair, or you are doing wudu or ghusl and you're actually rubbing where your hair is, and then that has actually, your rubbing has removed your hair, you've physically done something to remove that hair, that will be counted. And for each strand of hair you remove, that will be a violation to pay. Number 6, for males wearing stitched clothing. So we talked about what it means by stitched. So this does not mean stitched just because it's got sewing on there. It means where you're wearing normal clothing, you forgot to remove your underwear, or you're still wearing a t-shirt underneath or something, or you're wearing something like that, then that would apply. Covering your head, covering your face, and for the males also in terms of the footwear, covering, we already talked about this, the Ka'b region, that's a violation. And number 7, harming, abusing, insulting, offending, arguing with any Muslim, which is why we spent a lot of time talking about how we should conduct ourselves with people around us. So now there are 2 types of violations. You have a minor violation or a major violation. I don't expect you to read through all of this. If you want to take a picture, you can, or on our website, which is, I think, it should be somewhere in the booklet also. I think I have put this in the booklet somewhere, all of these. So you can read through that in the booklet. If anybody joined us late and didn't manage to get a booklet, we've got some booklets at the back for you to make notes. So in the middle of the booklet, I have put all of the violations there, so you can compare what these are. If it's a minor violation, for each violation, you need to give the equivalent of Sadaqatul Fitr in charity. So that could be, right now, currently, this Ramadan gone, our Sadaqatul Fitr on average is around, about £5-6. So for every small minor violation, it'll be £5-6 to pay. This could be done to any charity anywhere around the world, although it is recommended to do it there in the Haram boundary. However, if you do a major violation, you need to slaughter a large animal inside the Haram boundary. So this boundary we had over here, anywhere in this Haram boundary, I need to slaughter a large animal. Then the meat of the animal, I have to distribute it to the poor people within the Haram boundary. Where in Hajj am I going to have time or the resources to go locate an animal, have the animal slaughtered, and then to go look for these poor people that are eligible to get this meat in the Haram boundary? Can you understand how challenging it is? So that's why it's really important that we pay attention to these rules. Now, the Haram boundary rule is only for the major violation. Now, fortunately, you don't have to do that yourself. There are some charities that do that for you. So if that QR code on there, which takes us to our website, which has also got all of the different violations and the categories of that, at the bottom of there we have put a link, And on the last page, I've put some useful websites. On there also is the website. There's a website called adahi.org. And adahi.org is a local charity in Saudi Arabia that do this for pilgrims. You don't have to do it with them. There are other charities that might do it, but that's the easy way. You go on the website, you choose your large animal, you do an online payment, and as soon as that's done, they will slaughter the animal for you, they will distribute that for you, and most likely they will give you a notification to let you know that your hadi or your violation, your penalty has been done, your animal has been slaughtered, and the meat has been distributed in the haram boundary. So they will do that on your behalf. But it is not cheap. Yeah, you're looking at an average, a normal basic animal is looking at about 250, 300 pounds or maybe even more. Now, if you do 2 or 3 major violations, you could do your math yourself. Yeah, that's why it's really important that you pay attention to these rules. Now, which is why this might be what will dictate whether you choose to do the Qiran Hajj that we talked about at the start, or the Tamattu Hajj. Whether you have the ability to join your Umrah and Hajj with a single Ihram. Actually, even 2-3 days extra is very difficult for me. I don't think I can do that, which is fine. Then you will just do the Tamattu Hajj. So once you've done your Umrah, you exit Ihram and re-enter for the days of Hajj. Right, now I'm going to take a short break from talking because I want some of you to get a bit involved. So is there any volunteers that want to take part and be our model so we can have a Ihram tying demo? Anyone brave enough to try and come and practice wearing the Ihram? If you are the first one to volunteer, absolutely welcome. Come forward, brother, inshallah. So we'll start off with the bottom layer, inshallah. So as we said, I've got a garment here, unstitched, yeah, clean, white, pure. And first thing, the bottom layer, we call this the izar. Now, there are 2 ways you can tie this, but the first thing you're going to do is you're going to try and make sure your feet are slightly more wider apart. The reason for this is if I tie this ihram and I don't do this, and then I decided not to follow Maulana's advice and I not practice at home beforehand, and I got to a public place and I'm in my ihram and I have limited leg room movement, or I want to sit down cross-legged, I'm stuck. How am I going to adjust my ihram in front of everybody now? So first of all, you widen your feet slightly, and then you have your ihram towards the back, and you make the left side slightly shorter, right side longer, and you just basically wrap it around you as tight as you can. And then to support you with that, you might also want to have a belt. So you can tuck it in there, and you have your belt, which goes this way. Now, as you notice, as we said at the start, if the belt does have stitching, that is completely fine. You wear your belt. Now, this is obviously depending on what size belt and what belt you get. You can use that. You can even use conventional belt. It doesn't have to be white. Your belt could be black, brown, anything else. If you use a normal trouser belt, also that's fine. Also, once you've done that, you just basically fold this couple of layers on top. That will just secure your ihram slightly tighter, and that will ensure your ihram won't fall off. Now, brother, if I could ask you just to take a couple of steps forward and backward, inshallah. Yeah? Anyone see the ihram falling off? No? Yes, no, comfortable? Yeah? So, your ihram is not going to fall off. As long as you do it correctly, that's why I said it's really important you practice this. Your ihram will not fall off, it's okay. Yeah? Alhamdulillah, Allah has taken me many times to Makkah. It's only once someone's ihram fell off. And that wasn't because he didn't tie it properly. It's because he decided to jump over a barrier that the police had put. They pulled him down, and with that, his ihram fell down with him. So, I don't think anybody's jumping barriers here. Once you've tied your ihram, that's it, it's not going to fall off. I'll let you keep that on for now let's just do the top half. So that is your bottom half of your ihram. Top half of your ihram is called the rida. You put this at the back. Again, left side shorter, right side longer. And once you put this, now many people recommend this, what you do over here so that it doesn't keep falling. This left side, you can tuck it in here. That will ensure it doesn't keep falling. And your longer side, the reason why I have it longer on the right side is when we put it over here, then you can tuck it in again behind your neck over here. Alongside that, is recommended, and I would recommend everybody to do this, put a safety pin here. Yeah, we've got some at the back as well if you want to see later. Put a safety pin here. Once you put your safety pin here, because if you tuck it in, you might come out, you're picking up your suitcase or you're praying salah. You're going to keep faffing around with your ihram. That's why it's better you put a safety pin here. Now, this is how you're going to wear your ihram all the time, apart from when you perform tawaf. When you're going around the Kaaba, you have to expose your right shoulder. So you take that out again, long on the right side, again over here, and then again tuck it in behind your neck here, put a safety pin, there's your ihram, you perform your tawaf. Now, if during your tawaf you have to perform your salah, just put your shoulder back in, and after that take it back out. Once your tawaf is done, you're free to then put your shoulder back inside and wear your ihram as usual, and there you have your ihram. How do you feel, brother? Comfortable? Very comfortable? Yeah?
Cool.
And that's how it's going to be. Now, the second way you will tie your lower half of your ihram is that when you're, I'm just going to ask you, sorry, to undo that for me. Okay, I'll just grab that from you. So if you just hold your ihram there. So now the second way is, I'm just going to release it slightly, is you put the two ends of your ihram together first and bring this to your right hand side, and then you're going to bring it around here, and then again one more time like this, and then you put your, you can just roll it up if you want. And if you want to put your belt later on, then at home you can put your belt also. Now the benefit of this way is you have unlimited leg room. Now you're not going to do no karate and do some kicks or anything, but and if you do stretch your legs out, you sit cross-legged or anything, it's still covered in that area. But make just, like I said, when you go home, practice maybe which one is the best for you, what you're comfortable with. Maybe get somebody in your family to just double check from all angles that nothing opens up. If you're still feeling that I'm a bit, I'm a bit insecure, I don't feel, I don't know if anything is going to be showing. Just do that, practice. If you want to walk up and down the stairs, do some exercises, that will get you ready, inshallah. Don't keep it in the nice packaging. No, it's not going to get creased up or anything. Yeah, it's there for you to wear. Some people, like myself also, we might have certain OCDs and we like everything to be in a certain way. But we have to make sure that the main purpose is that we are comfortable. Yeah, you don't want to be in that unfortunate scenario, inshallah. Jazakallah khairan, brother, for joining us. And inshallah, you can take that off at your leisure, inshallah. Now, sometimes you might see that there are other types of ihrams on the market, like there is a tube ihram. A tube ihram is basically the lower part is actually just like a round shape. It's got no opening. Now, that is permissible for you to use. You can use a tube ihram. Now, the tube ihram will still be very wide. You will still have to tie it. But the benefit of that one is that in the middle, there's no chance it's going to open up. The only thing about the tube ihram in terms of, because we also do both, but the only negative personal feedback I have of the tube ihram is that the tube ihram, because it's one piece and you have to tie it tight, it sticks to the shape of your body. So your top half of your ihram will cover that, but it is quite tight. It does sometimes show the shape of your body in that scenario. But we also do have this little guide in case you forgot how to do this ihram tying demo. So you can also look at that. I've also put this in your booklet as well. On this page over here, you can see you've got the miqat zone as well as the how to tie your ihram there, inshallah, as well, inshallah. Okay, now inshallah, we've done all the rules of ihram. So now we are going to look at entering into Mecca and performing Umrah. So the reminder what we had at the start, Umrah is in 4 steps. So number 1, we've talked up till now, like I said, all we've talked about is number 1, about the clothing of ihram, how to make the intention, what should that be, and what is the talbiyah, the labbaik, and when should that be done, the rules of the miqat boundary, and all of those things over there. Once I've done that, I have 3 things left for the acts of Umrah. Now, this is where the first page of the booklet I prepared for you is really important. When I said to you, make a dua list, you might want to put a star or asterisk next to your dua list, because the first glance at the Kaaba is an accepted dua. The first, when you get there. Now, it doesn't only mean the first time in your life you go. Some people do have this opinion that it's only the first time. No, but Allah's mercy is not restricted to only one time. Allah's mercy is limitless. So, every time and every trip, the first glance at the Kaaba you get is an accepted dua. And that's why you don't want to spend that moment on your phone trying to get the angle right to record what's the best shot to take. That's not a moment for your phone. That's a moment for you and Allah, and for you to make that dua. Now, for some of us, Allah might have blessed us with abundance of wealth and barakah, and we might have a really good package where we've actually got a hotel which has got a haram view window, or you might have got upgraded to a window, a view with a haram view. Now, in that scenario, when you have a holiday or a booking you have and you've been told you've got upgraded to a good view, when you go to your room, the first thing you check is not the toilet. First thing you check is going to be that view that you've been upgraded to, right? That view, don't go and be excited to go look at that view yet. Because if you go to your room and you open the curtain and you see that Kaaba, that's your first glance at the Kaaba. And you don't want to spoil that moment, because part of that will be the emotion that you will feel when you're there in front of all in the courtyard of the Kaaba with millions of people around you, and they're going to make your dua in that moment. So then maybe don't open your curtain yet. wait till you're actually there at the Kaaba. But be prepared for that. That is something that you need to, one of those instances where whatever you ask from Allah, Allah is going to give us, inshallah. So now it all begins. We've got our ihram ready. We've landed in Jeddah. We've gone through immigration. We've got onto the mode of transport that we're getting to Mecca. We're saying the labbaik all together as a group. We see the buildings of Mecca, the mountains of Mecca, and we finally get to our hotel. We get given our room. We check in, and then once you check in, a common question comes over here is, I've been traveling a long time. Am I allowed to have a shower? You can have a shower. And when you have a shower, what's going to happen? You're going to remove your ihram cloth. Does that break your ihram? No, it doesn't. Yeah? So if I want to go to the toilet, I want to have a shower, and I want to remove all of my ihram in that scenario because when I go in the shower, I can do that. Or say, for example, you got a backup ihram, or your group is going to give you a second ihram. And in the middle of those Hajj days, you decide that I want to change my ihram. You're going to have to remove it anyway. So that does not break your ihram. You are able to have a shower or a ghusl. If you want to, just be sure not to use any soap, any shampoo, anything like that. Just have a rinse, unless you had taken some fragrance-free lotions or soap with you, then that's obviously a different scenario. Now, once you're ready, you don't have to go straight away to do your Umrah. You can go to sleep. You can go and have lunch or dinner. You can have a break. You've been traveling a long time. You want to give yourself a break. If you go straight into your Umrah, by the time you finish your Umrah, you are going to be flat out. It might take you 2 or 3 days to recover. For some of us, our packages don't allow 2 or 3 days to recover because we might only get to Makkah 2 or 3 days before Hajj, or actually only 1 day before Hajj. So do take a rest, take it easy. Then in your hotel room, you're going to have a TV that's going to have Makkah live. You might want to look at what is the mataf like. Is it quiet time for me to go do my tawaf now? That doesn't mean you sit there in your hotel room and watching TV or whatever. That's the only reason is there for, I'm telling you to look at that, is for Makkah live, so you can see what the mataf crowd is like. When you're ready, now make your way towards Masjid al-Haram. Again, a reminder, unplug. Now really do put your phone away, because you don't need it for anything. You do not need your phone for anything. Do not take your phone out in this moment. Now you're going to go towards Masjid al-Haram, enter with your right foot. Around Masjid al-Haram, most people will enter from gate number 79, which is the King Fahd gate. This takes you towards the Mataf. However, there's also other gates that takes you right to the Kaaba. The gate number 1, which is gate King Abdul Aziz, which is opposite the clock tower entrance, that takes you direct to the Kaaba. And from that gate, actually, you can see the Kaaba. So it's really important you look down and you don't want to miss that moment where you're making your dua with a view of the Kaaba. So main key thing is when you approach the gates of Masjid al-Haram, lower your gaze and just follow the crowd wherever you're going. Follow your crowd, because that crowd, you're all going to the same place. Whether you go from gate 79 or gate number 1, or now even Babul Umrah is also open, which is next to the new extension. That also has a view of the Kaaba from the actual door. Again, you want to lower your gaze. So keep your gaze lowered. Don't look up. Just follow the crowd. You need to either go down some escalators or some stairs until you get down towards the open courtyard, what we call the Mataf area. Once you get there, don't look up there and make your dua there, because you're still by the stairs. You are still on a path. You do not want to obstruct that path, because you are just going to get moved by the guards, by the police, by the army. You don't want to miss out. You're in your emotional moment. You're singing your dua, the Kaaba, and your tears are coming out. You're making your dua, but you're being shoved away. So make sure you're not in anybody's way. Maybe go behind a pillar. Actually, you start walking in towards the Mataf. And as you're walking in, because there's no way to stop, just as you're walking forward, slowly raise your gaze. And there you have it in front of you. The majesty of the Kaaba, the glorious Kaaba there, subhanallah. That moment you've been waiting for. And in that moment, you will feel the tears come to your eyes. You will feel the hair stand on its end. You will feel that shivers run down your back. You will feel the spirituality and the emotion. And in that feeling that you feel, that's when you want to make your dua as you're gazing at the Kaaba. And that's your special dua you're going to make. And it's not just one dua. Allah's mercy, like I said, is not restricted. It's not only one dua that you are allowed to make. Yeah, Allah's mercy is unrestricted. Make as many du'as as you can and as you want in that moment. But in that moment, for you to remember all of that, you don't want to be faffing around trying to find what was the dua I wrote down or try to look for it in your notes. No, make that unique personal dua that you know from the depth of your heart. What do you really, really want from Allah in your life right now? Whether right now or in your future, near future, far future, distant future, what is that dua that you want to make? And make that dua. Really, really important. And then you walk in closer towards the Kaaba, and then you're going to start your tawaf. Now when you do, this is the only act of Hajj, apart from your salah, that you need wudu for. Whether it's your Umrah tawaf or any other tawaf. A tawaf you have to do or an optional tawaf. For every tawaf you do, you have to have wudu. Anything else apart from salah or touching the Quran, you do not need wudu for. Now, the reason why I'm emphasizing this, because one person came to my workshop once, and it was from the school trip and we went, and he thought it's only for the tawaf for Umrah. So the next day he went upstairs on the top floor, and he was doing tawaf, which takes you much more longer. It takes you about 40 minutes, and he done 5 rounds, which took him about 35 minutes. And then the adhan for Dhuhr Salah happened, and actually then he said, I need to go do wudu. And the staff member with him at the time said to him, what about your tawaf? He said, oh, I didn't realize you have to have wudu for tawaf. Now, poor thing, he had to start his whole tawaf again, because why? All those 5 rounds that took him 35 minutes, he actually didn't have wudu for. So it's really important you remember, do wudu. So yes, when you go to your hotel, check in, use the bathroom, even if you don't need to use the bathroom again, do a fresh wudu, and then go towards Masjid al-Haram. Because in that crowd, navigating around Masjid al-Haram, it's like a maze. Everything looks the same. You're not going to come out and come in from the same entrance. Everything looks the same. They randomly will close off doors and open new doors. They will rearrange and divert all the crowds. So you're not going to know where you're going most of the time. So you're not going to be able to find. There are areas to do wudu, but in that crowd, where you're going to be, you want to separate yourself from your group and go. If you feel you can, then maybe, but no, not really. So do your wudu beforehand, and you need to do your wudu, your tawaf. 7 rounds of tawaf, 2 rakats of, after that, Zamzam water and Sa'i. We're going to talk about that next. But before we do that, I just want to talk a little bit about some spots on the actual Kaaba. So on the Kaaba, there is a semicircle area called the Hatim. The Hatim, or the Hijr Ismail, which is also is called, is a semicircle wall, and this is actually part of the original Kaaba. So over time, as Makkah is a valley, heavy rainfall would flood regularly, and over time that started damaging and weakening the walls of the Kaaba. So in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, when he was about 25 years old, in his 20s, the Quraysh decided, we're going to rebuild the Kaaba. We're going to break it down and rebuild it from scratch. Now, they were in the time of Jahiliyyah, but there were certain things that they knew, certain things that we are not allowed to do, certain things we are allowed to do. So they decided, okay, we have got a lot of money, but not all of that money we've got it in an ethical way or in a moral way. We might have cheated someone, we might have ripped someone off, we might have stolen someone's money, we might have took advantage of the weaker society and just taken their money, unjustly taken their money. So we're not going to use that money. We can only use pure money to rebuild the Kaaba. Now, when they were close to halfway, they realized funds were running out. They didn't have any more money to purchase material to continue the building of the Kaaba from pure ethical income. So they were stuck. So then they decided to just finish off how much they had built as a cube and leave the rest as a small semicircle area where the leaders of Quraysh would at times sit on. And it stayed like that all the way till the time of the Prophet ﷺ. And then later on there was a Sahib Abdullah ibn Zubayr radiallahu anh. He actually rebuilt the Kaaba with the semicircle included. But after that, after a couple of years, then it was then put back as to how it was. And since that day till today, it's been like this. So if you get to pray to any salah in there, it's like you're getting the salah inside the Kaaba. Now, most of us are not going to get to pray inside the actual Kaaba, so that's the closest we will get. So they do have certain timings. So normally they have after Isha for sisters, after Dhuhr Salah for brothers. Just depends on what the timings are during Hajj. If you do find any signs or any timings, and you do get a chance, you don't have to go there. If you do get a chance, you might want to go and pray 2 rakats there. If not during Hajj, at least Allah takes you again for Umrah, you can go then. Number 2, the Multazam. This is an area between the black stone and the door of the Kaaba. This is the place the Prophet ﷺ said, Al-Multazam mawdi'un yustajabu fihi du'a. Multazam is a place where du'as are answered. And there's one of the scholars, he has wrote a book on all the scholars throughout history that made a du'a there, what du'a they made and how that was accepted. It is it's a very special place. However, like I said, if you are in the state of ihram, that wall is perfumed. That cloth of the Kaaba is perfumed. If you put your hand on there or you put your cheek on there, you're perfuming your hand. If you smell your hand, you can smell it as though you put your perfume on yourself. So, it's really strong perfume. That will be a violation of ihram. Only do that if you're not in the state of ihram. Number 3, Maqam Ibrahim. This is the gold case that holds the footprints of Ibrahim alayhi salam. And he was rebuilding the Kaaba, or when he was building the Kaaba, one of the